Omnath is back, and he's 5 colors. Hallelujah! We all saw it coming, but our boy, a beautiful jelly bean boy, has got a little taste for the oil I give you. Coming to March of the Machine in April, we have Omnath, Locus of All. This is a white, a blue, a Phyrexian black, a red, and a green for a 4/4 rare, not even a mythic. Wow. Phyrexian elemental legendary creature. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes black instead. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card if it has 3 or more colored mana symbols in its mana cost. If you do, add 3 mana of any combination of its colors and put it into your hand. If you don't reveal it, put it into your hand. Omnath, Locus of All. A little bit of history of the jelly bean. It started out as just a nice friendly mono green blob that used unspent green mana and let you keep it, and then it became this ragey Godzilla-y thing, smashing some cities up and making elementals, and then it became Omnath, Locus of Royal, kind of an elemental theme commander leader of sorts, and then it became Omnath, Locus of Creation, who got banned. It's too good in standard. Got the axe. Just wow, what a powerful card. If you remember Omnath standard, yeah, what a time. But now we get this beauty, the Omnath, Locus of All. And will this card affect standard the same way? Is this card completely overpowered? When you look down the list of things that this card does, the primary idea is, okay, if I play cards with 3 or more colors in them, like powerful multicolor cards, I get free mana from this thing. And then if I don't even use the mana, it becomes black, but it stays in the mana pool. That is really powerful. And if it's on the battlefield through your pre-combat main phase, you get card advantage, because on one hand, you can make mana and put the card into your hand, or you can just put the card into your hand. Either way, you're putting a card into your hand. So this is a card that really does want to hang out on the battlefield and gives you a small deck building reward. Maybe not too small, mana is great, but it gives you a deck building reward for having cards of many different colors in them. So is that a standard card? It has to stay on the battlefield to be effective. That is a huge knock against this card. The other is the deck building cost of so many colors. Atraxa has shown us that we can do all kinds of things when the reward is good enough, but Atraxa has a powerful ETB that takes over the game. Sheoldred the Apocalypse is a card that changed the way we look at Magic cards, because it doesn't have an ETB. It has to sit on the battlefield, much like Omnath, in order to have effect on the game. And it still rose to prominence. It still became a dominant card in many situations. So, is Omnath, Locus of All the next Sheoldred the Apocalypse? Noting also that this gets around Sheoldred's ability to tax your draws with losing life. It doesn't draw the card, it puts it into your hand. Also gets around Narset, Parter of Veils, if you're still afraid of that card. There's a big problem with Omnath, Locus of All in that spot. 4 toughness. I mean, they should have run back the 4/5-ness, because quite honestly, how often does that 5th toughness of Sheoldred really matter? It feels to me like it matters all the time. And the removal in standard will have to break a very specific way for Omnath to have a real shot at just sticking to the battlefield. Keep in mind, you're paying 2 life to cast this unless you're paying the 5, which puts its power toughness rate up against Sheoldred. It's a little behind Sheoldred. And that 5th toughness, like I said, it comes up. It matters a lot. Also, what are you going to do with the mana in standard? That is a huge challenge, because there just aren't that many ways to use it. Probably the biggest payoffs in standard: Cityscape Leveler, Portal to Phyrexia, maybe powering out these kind of cards. These are colorless. They're not going to trigger Omnath's mana ability, so you're going to need to save up the mana across multiple turns. On the other hand, maybe Omnath helps you cast Atraxa if you really can fit all 5 colors into your deck. There are some 5-color Atraxa decks. Omnath revealing Atraxa, making mana, casting Atraxa sounds pretty awesome. Those are 2 powerhouse cards playing together. If you can make the mana work, honestly, that might be Omnath's home in standard, is being Atraxa's little enabler, just being a little minion for Atraxa. Very sad. Now, when you move into Historic Brawl, Omnath Locus of All becomes very interesting because keeping it on the battlefield can be a game plan of its own. You can slip it out the back. You can use March of Swirling Mist and other cards to keep your Omnath from getting removed, so you can pile up mana in your mana pool, and then you can dump it into a Torment of Hailfire or something of that nature. Omnath as a commander gives you access to all 5 colors, which is totally, honestly sweet. So I think it will be one of the more popular commanders in the set, no question. And that alone is a good enough reason to be excited for Omnath. Moving into Commander itself, Commander proper, we get to do all kinds of things with Omnath. Of course, we get to build with all of the charms. You think of like the 3-color instant speed charms, which Omnath can kind of cast for free. That's really cool. But we also get to do things like play Seedborn Muse, untap with all of our opponents, and then add all that mana to the mana pool and make all that black mana that we never lose. And then we cast a Genesis Wave and we, you know, all that on the battlefield. Other cards that are really good are the ultimatums. If you think of like Genesis Ultimatum, Ruinous Ultimatum, casting these with Omnath in Historic Brawl or in Commander sounds incredibly juicy, incredibly powerful, incredibly fun, and that's probably exactly what the card is designed for. Yes, I know. Another card in our standard legal set that's designed for Commander. Some people will be bothered by that, and I don't particularly blame you. If you're an old hat standard player, I get it. However, I will tell you, the best way to not be bothered by Commander is to get into Commander. These things can exist together. I get all of my spiky kind of need to try really hard and competitive vibe out on Arena. I just take it out on Arena. Even in Historic Brawl, I'm competitive. But if you watch my Covert Go crew channel on Commander, it's a very different vibe. You know, yes, I like to win, but I also like hanging out with my friends. I don't need to win to have a good time, and I like to try all kinds of different decks, cards, and combinations that I would never be able to try in a 60-card 1v1 format. So I think that it's important that you play the kind of Magic that you want to play that makes you happy, but don't pigeonhole yourself into just one thing unless you actually only want to do one thing for your whole life. Some people, that's just their jam. I thought I would play standard only my whole life, as recently as a couple of years ago, but I really enjoy how Magic can serve kind of dual sides of my personality, that it can be a social and fun game and it can be a spiky competitive game, as long as you don't approach all Magic as the same. I think that alone is kind of a big revelation to some people. Omnath Locus of All might have some interesting standard decks. I will definitely try it with Atraxa, and we definitely have to keep our eye out for other multicolored, like 3-color or more cards that are cheap but powerful. Or maybe they don't have to be cheap. They can be really expensive, actually, because Omnath can enable them. But obviously, you don't want your deck just overloaded with expensive cards. So yeah, we have got to keep our eye out for other cards that Omnath could reveal that would make us happy. Maybe some top-of-the-library manipulation to get Atraxa to the top. But for the most part, Omnath looks like a support player in Standard and a rock star in Commander, and a very sweet pile of jelly in Historic Brawl. Are you guys hyped for Omnath? Who's not hyped for a completed oily Omnath? Thank you for watching this video. As always, I'll see you in the next one. You're cool.